What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Simone of the almighty Epica. Thank you so much for being here today. You have been requested by numerous fans on our website to come on the show, so it's so great to have you here.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So the brand new album, Omega, which is scheduled to come out next month, being that it was like about 5 years since the holographic principle, do you consider this a continuation of that, or is Omega almost kind of like a new start for Epica in a way?
I guess each we bring out is kind of a continuation for us. Our lyrics kind of overlap. We kind of dive in the same material. And but it's definitely a new chapter, I would say.
Okay. Because it's funny, like as a fan of Epica, like I'd be able to tell what would be off of, the Phantom Agony or the Divine Conspiracy or Design Your Universe, et cetera, et cetera. So have you always taken a new approach in terms of the sound to every album, or is there kind of like a formula that Epica tries to stick with?
I guess we try to do something else with each record, or we try to improve wherever we think we can improve. And having 5 composers in a band, of course, is a great luxury for us to keep on growing and keep on, keeping the variety very much alive. And this time our producer Joost has also been the one mixing the album, and compared to the holographic principle, we wanted to tone things down a little bit, get a little bit more an organic sound, more a little bit more transparency in the sound, and I think we succeeded with Omega.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that the 2 singles that we've heard so far, The Abyss of Time and Freedom, The Wolves Within, can almost serve as like a clear representation of what Omega sounds like, or is that just one little taste of the album?
That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's way more to come. I mean, there's going to be some surprises on the album. Fans will be hopefully blown off their chairs or wherever they are when they listen to it.
Well, I've always said that every time there's a new Epica album coming out, it's almost like people are excited to see like the next series in a movie. So like every time there's a new Epica album, everybody goes and starts off with the Phantom Agony, and then they end with the most recent album to come out. So I think people are going to be very, very surprised and very, very excited to hear this album.
I hope so too. I think they will be surprised when they hear the new material.
Do you almost feel like every album is in the Epica catalog is almost kind of like should be listened to chronologically? Like should people like start off with the Phantom Agony before moving on to Consigned to Oblivion and then the Divine Conspiracy, et cetera, et cetera?
No, not necessarily. I think especially putting this record next to the Phantom Agony is day and night difference, although there are some little parts that take me back to the beginning of Epica. There's 2 songs in particular that do that on the record, and it's the song Code of Life and Seal of Solomon. They kind of have a little bit the old vintage Epica feeling to them. But I mostly, if I had to refer to my favorite Epica albums, I always talk about Design Universe from the older work. That is some of my favorite Epica. Maybe because we're also that's 1 year ago that we finished touring our anniversary edition of Design Universe, but that has always been one of my favorite albums. The Quantum Enigma and now also Omega, they are my favorite Epica albums, so I would recommend people to check those out.
While Epica always, I feel like, has a sound that defines who you are, I feel like you incorporate so much with your sound. Like, kind of going back to Design Your Universe, to go from a song like Our Destiny and on the same record to have a song like Tides of Time where there's, a lot of emotion and a lot of different vibes. It almost seems like trying new things and maybe experimenting with your sound is almost part of the Epica songwriting process, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. With Design Universe, we had maybe 4 songwriters. Nowadays, all the guys write songs. So I guess Our Destiny is one of my least favorite songs of that album, even though we played the song live. now when we were touring, which feels like ages ago that we were touring. But I think Design Universe is just a timeless Epica album. It was a great album that will hopefully not go out of out of metal fashion. And we felt that also when we were touring again and we were playing those songs. To me, if I play songs from the first album or first two albums, I feel that they are slowly misplaced in a current set list with newer songs, that the distance is too big, the evolution, so to speak, the musical evolution. But when we play Design Universe songs, they fit really well, also with the newer, faster songs.
Yeah, definitely. There's always like many different emotions and many different vibes that are felt. And as a vocalist, have you always needed to hear the music to come up with lyrics, or have you ever had like lyrics or maybe like a concept in mind, and maybe that could help influence the sound of the music itself?
What I often have is that I get little lines of lyrics or just words pop up to me when I'm watching movies or when I'm traveling. The moment before you fall asleep, that's when a lot of inspiration likes to come to you, and I just write it down on my phone. But when we have the music, and Mark and I, we divide the songs, we both write the lyrics, so it's half of the songs is his job and the other half mine, or almost 50-50. And then I dive into the lyrics more, but I often have the song titles before I write the lyrics. And there's one song on the album Omega, it's called Rivers. It's our ballad, and the music is written by Rob, and he gave it the working title Rivers. And this is actually a song that I kept the original working title because I loved it so much, and I could build a lyrical concept around it.
Yeah, I've always loved songs that only had one word in it, because I feel like the least you say in the song itself, there's so much more you could say with it.
Well, I like short and powerful as well, but Mark likes his long titles and his double titles, and I respect that. But for this album, we went with Omega, and originally we were almost going to call it the Omega Point, because that's what it's kind of referring to. But we all decided, no, it's Epica, and it should be Omega, and that's it. But we've always liked the Phantom Agony, always three words for the album title, or 4 with Requiem for the Indifferent. But we broke a lucky streak with that, because that was we have some bad memories attached to that album. But I think Omega is like short and powerful, just like our own, like the band name Epica.
Yeah, definitely. Was there maybe a preconceived idea with how you wanted Omega to sound like? Was there kind of like a lot of ideas that you entered the studio with, or was there also like a lot of trial and error involved with the making of Omega?
I don't know. I mean, songs like Kingdom of Heaven, the big monsters, they always need a lot of work, because how do you keep a long song interesting, keep the attention of the listener, give the song structure, have it make sense. But that's where the band comes in, we are a team, and we put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And you can't always 100% say when you start writing the songs how they develop. It's always kind of an unexpected process. And sometimes in the early stages of demo recordings, those are my favorite songs. And by the time the album is completely finished, you can have a total different list of favorite songs. And it's a fun process to see that grow and to, see the songs develop and take shape.
I've always said that art is life. So like once you start like writing it, you're like, it's almost like you're the piece's humble guide in a way. You kind of have to like let it organically form itself. And that's how I really think almost every Epica song really is. Yeah,
in a way we do. Well, I hear an echo. In a way we do what feels right, I guess. And Joost, our producer, he's the guy the guide. How do you say the guardian of the Epica sound, and to make all the songs fit together and to make it one story.
Mm-hmm. Well, it almost seems like, I feel like with your lyrics, they like the first Epica song I've ever actually heard was "Never Enough" off of The Divine Conspiracy, and I was like wondering if this song was about anybody in particular, or if it was like representing inner struggles or something like that. So I feel like lyrically you also approach the music from different angles as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mark and I, we both write the lyrics. We have different interests, but we complete each other really well. I mix in some personal stuff as well, but sometimes Mark does that too. And he's very inspired by, he used to be very inspired by politics. Now we've kind of entered the path of spirituality and science, I guess. And I always called myself the philosopher. So Mark is the one writing about science, and I kind of question everything and write about my personal life as well, and my friends and everything that's going on in the world.
You and Mark should do a podcast together. I feel like it would be very, very deep. And then you should just put music in the background, and that could be like an experimental Epica album.
Yeah, that might get... Or the thing is, Mark and I were both very goofy, so it might also go in a total wrong direction. I don't think the way you might perceive us through our lyrics, we're not like that in real life. So.
Do you almost feel like in the albums, in a way, that you and Mark and everybody in the band almost kind of like portray a character, or like using the music to like be something that maybe you're not off stage in a way?
No, I'm never a different person when I'm on stage or off stage, and I don't put on a show. It's just a more amplified version of who I am on stage. And I think my singing voice sounds similar to my speaking voice. So it's not like there's an alter ego coming out, or I don't know, as if I'm possessed by an alter ego. It's all me, and even on stage we goof around a lot, and I guess that's also a strength from Epica, that we don't take ourselves too seriously. We have a good time, and we have positive energy.
That's the best way to describe like an Epica show. I've seen you 3 times now, and it's always like the energy that you portray on stage really reflects into the audience. Like every Epica show is always just like a positive experience to be around.
That's nice to hear. Thank you.
It was so funny too, because when I saw you at the PlayStation Theater with Lacuna Coil in 2017, like the security there, I mean the venue's not around anymore, but like the security there are usually kind of strict and like, you know, very like soldier-like, but they were all just vibing the whole night. I saw like the security like dancing with some of the audience members. It was great.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Do you feel that Omega, and this could almost be said for almost every Epica album, but do you feel like Omega does have like a concept where like if a listener wants to get to like fully indulge in it, they should start off with Alpha and end with Omega, Sovereign of the Sun spheres? Or can a listener maybe approach this album from different angles, and maybe like the album is open to interpretation?
It is definitely open to interpretation. We don't like to give away too much of the lyrics, of course, but everybody's always very interested in what the lyrics are about. But it is indeed, everything is placed at a very strategical place as well. Alpha is the beginning, Omega is the end. It's our 8th studio album, and it's the last Kingdom of Heaven. So, and number 8, if you put it to the side, is the infinity symbol. And it's also incorporated in the artwork. And Kingdom of Heaven, the final Kingdom of Heaven, is also number 8 on the album. So there is definitely a musical journey that you can optimally enjoy if you start from the beginning and work your way to the end. Because when you create the track list of an album, you do that also with the idea in the back of your mind that it's like a musical journey from the beginning to the end, the flow of the songs, the placement of the songs. is we put a lot of thought in that as well. So
Yeah,
but you can do whatever you want. If you like a song, you can put it on repeat for an hour and then continue.
definitely. Well, for me, like, from listening to Omega, like, I feel like it needs to be listened to chronologically, even if, like, maybe the songs aren't fully related to each other. Like, I'm listening to the Skeleton Key, I have to follow it up with Seal of Solomon, I have to follow that up with Gaia, I have to follow that up with Code of Life, and so on and so forth. So I think you actually do achieve of being able to make a listener explore the whole album and start from one end of it to the other.
I hope so. I hope we keep the attention of the listener. But I love to listen to the album from the beginning to the end. But when we're listening to it in the car and my son is there, he's like, I want to hear the Egyptian song. And with that song, he means Code of Life. That's his favorite song. And he likes to listen to songs on repeat. But luckily, that's one of my favorite songs as well. So I'm not tired of it yet.
I've heard way too many horror stories when I'm interviewing one member, and then like their least favorite song is everybody else in the band's favorite song, or it's their spouse's favorite song, or their child's favorite song. It always happens that way. So it's great to hear that.
Yeah, Vincent's favorite song from the previous album was Beyond the Matrix. And when he came to see me do the sound check, when we were playing in Germany, I went backstage with my microphone and we played the song for him. He was too young to stay up to see the show, but he was a little bit sad because he doesn't like to miss Mama. So it was a little bit bittersweet in a way that he was there to hear it. But for him, a long time, Epica was like a love-hate relationship, because that would mean, this band takes my mother away, and he missed me a lot. Vice versa, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
But fan favorite songs are Cry for the Moon, and I can't hear that song anymore. It's like, but we have to play it. And I think a lot of bands kind of dislike the classics that the fans like to hear, but you play them because of the fans, of course. But it's like, I can't hear that song anymore.
Yeah, I know. There's always going to be somewhat of a different opinion between the fans and the artists. That's just how it always is.
That's how I have it with my favorite bands. Some favorite songs, and you love it when your favorite band plays it. But I also know from my perspective that the band's probably not so excited anymore to play that song.
Yeah. When it comes to like all this inspiration that you're incorporating in your albums, do you almost like look for it? Like, is there a lot of inspiration, or do ideas for you sometimes just come out of the blue?
Musically, I mean, when I write lyrics or vocal lines, I have to listen to the music. It's not that I have an idea, a vocal line, and then I show it to the guys and they're like, oh, I'm going to write a song around it. It's always the music first, and the vocal lines come later. Lyrics can be simultaneously. Sometimes I have already written down some concepts and I try to fit it to the song. And inspiration, I must say for Omega, I was feeling very inspired with the holographic principle. I felt a little bit, not like in a rut, but I felt the pressure of the deadline and completing an album under immense pressure and touring schedule. And with Omega, there was just so much more peace to let the creative juices flow, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's the best way to describe it too, like Omega. And is that maybe why, like, this is the first Epica or album that we are getting since 2016?
Yeah, because we had the Sabbatical and also the world tour for the Holographic Principle was very extensive. It was our biggest world tour ever. It was, a successful world tour. And we then took time off the road to write our biography, The Essence of Epica, which can be purchased on the website epicabook.com if anybody's interested. If a lot of people have a lot of time now to read and watch Netflix, so they can also read our biography. Lots of funny anecdotes in that, and that took a lot of time. We were still working behind the scenes, but we just didn't have any shows because we desperately needed to recharge our batteries. And for Omega, the writing and recording process, we also consciously decided to not accept any offers for any shows. Despite the great offer that we got, we really wanted to use all our energy for the new record. And I think that was a wise decision.
Definitely was a wise decision, and we have something to look forward to hearing live when shows do return.
Yes.
Do you find it that because everybody in the band does contribute to the songwriting, do you maybe find it easier when you're in the company of your other bandmates to come up with ideas, or in order to like write your own ideas, you kind of like need to be alone in isolation and kind of detached from everybody else?
I'm a little bit a mixture of both. When I was coming up with vocal lines for the Omega songs, I was sitting in my own bedroom, doing my makeup, playing the songs in the background, and I would just switch on my phone if I ever got like a good melody. Because if I'm unconsciously, or how do you say, subconsciously?
Yes.
No? Not unconsciously. That sounds like I passed out from all the alcohol and then I let the universe give me all the melodies. That's not how it works. I mean, I'm focusing on, for example, getting ready for the day, doing my makeup, letting the music run in the background. And then sometimes, or most of the times, melodies come. And the ones that come first are mostly also the ones that stay. And so, with some songs, it goes super quick. And then there are songs that just take forever to come up with a good vocal line. And the song that went really quick when we were together in the Netherlands was Inception. That's the working title. The official song is called The Skeleton Key. I still have the work titles in my head. It's written by Rob, our bass player, and I remember sitting in the kitchen, and we had both our laptops, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to show you the new song." And I immediately started to sing the vocal melody for the basically the whole song. I immediately had an idea that worked, and he's like, "Yeah, great, I love it. Can you record it on the phone, and then I'll work a little further on the song." And each song has a different process actually. And when we were in the Netherlands for a week to work on the songs together with Joost, everybody had their own room, so I would sometimes retreat to that room. I had my computer, my mic, my little audio setup, and I would just work on the songs and record some ideas and see how it sound with funny lyrics. The demo process often have not so serious lyrics.
Well, I'd imagine too, inspiration sometimes strikes at the most inconvenient times as well, right?
That can happen too, yeah. Like the worst moment is right before you go to sleep. And then you always think, I'll remember it in the morning, but then it's always gone. Or you remember which other band had that brilliant melody, that it was not your idea, that you heard it somewhere else.
Yeah. That's why I was very paranoid when Bruce Dickinson was flying planes on the tour. I was like, man, I hope he's not thinking of musical ideas as he's like landing the plane or taking off. That sounds pretty dangerous.
Yeah, that it might be taking off again instead of landing if he has a good idea.
Right? We're going to circle the tarmac for 2 hours while I write these lyrics.
Yes. Oh, no.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is kind of going back to the live presence, because watching you play live, I feel like is a very different experience than simply listening to the album. I think they're both very intriguing and very fulfilling, but they're very different at the same time, especially because I've seen you play with bands like Lacuna Coil, but also play with a band like Flesh God Apocalypse or something like that. Is there maybe like a different energy into playing live than there is when you're recording or when you're practicing, or is there maybe something that ties the songwriting process and the live presence together?
For me, yeah, it's a different energy. I love listening to the songs on the album, but I guess Epica is a live band, and the songs just transform even more. And it's it's a different experience hearing them live compared to listening to the album. And I've been told that Epica is a live band, and that fans love to go to our live shows. And it's the interaction with the crowd. You feel the music, you know, it's like pumping, pumping through your blood when you're on the stage. Yeah, and we're all stage animals, so we miss it, and yeah, we feel like a little piece of our puzzle is missing at the moment, and are very eager to get back on stage.
And we're very eager to witness it, and we look forward to that day. And yeah, like I've always thought too that your music, like with your story, with your ability to like tell stories from different angles and compose music, like people either think that this is a great idea or a terrible idea, but I really could picture Epica's music actually being like a play or something like that.
Yeah, or a movie, I guess. It has a very cinematic touch. If you ever were to give Epica a name for, you know, the sound, or try to define it, I would call it cinemetal in a way. It's very cinematic metal, cinemetal. So, but musical, like rock opera maybe, but I think we're still a touch too heavy for that.
Well, never say never. I could picture a lot of death metal bands making an excellent Broadway musical. One day, death metal on Broadway.
One day.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Again, many people have been requesting you to be on the show, so it's great to finally make this happen, and thanks to all our fans for allowing us to make this happen as well. Is there just anything else with Epica that you would like to promote in terms of like maybe some live stream performances to hold us over, or anything else for the release of Omega?
Well, we have a new single coming up later this month, so I don't know when this interview is going to go live.
February 1st.
Okay, then it's already out.
Okay.
But yeah, we have 2 more singles lined up. So one before this interview is released, and one's coming after. So, and then the album is released, and we're very excited to see what everybody thinks about it. So far, we've gotten wonderful response for our first 2 singles, and yeah, can't wait to unleash the new Epica, and hope that everybody stays safe, and that we can all see each other, hopefully this year, probably the next year. And thank you for the support.
Well, thank you so much, Simone. Everybody, we are here with Simone of Epica. Be sure to check out Omega, coming out via Nuclear Blast, February 26th. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.